Good evening, everyone. Welcome to every Friday Yappy Corporate webinars. My name is Yana, and today we will talk about conditional sentences. If this topic has been your nightmare, I hope that you're going to get rid of it after this short webinar. So first of all, we have to talk about types of conditionals in English language, about the specifics of each of the types of conditionals. And I also want to warn you that the conditional sentences do not correspond to your own language, right? Because languages are different and grammar rules are also different. So don't be so sure that if you talk about future condition in Ukrainian or in Russian using future tenses, that you will do the same in English. That's not right. So this is a common mistake, and I would like to warn you not to make this mistake, okay? So now together with you, we're going to construct like a mind map on how to try to remember conditionals and how to structure information about them. So that's what we're going to do. We will write down the types. So there is a 0 type of conditional, first type, second, and third. So totally 4 types of conditionals. Also, each conditional sentence comprises the word if normally, but also there are different alternatives to if, such as providing that, as long as, on condition that, when, as soon as, and others. So be careful when you're working with conditional sentences. Don't orient only for the word if, right? So be cautious about that. But today we will write the word if as our guidance. Okay, then the next thing that you have to remember, every conditional sentence has clauses or so-called two parts of the sentence. So again, you have to be careful about this. All right, now my assistant will help me and we're going to make a map. So let's start talking about clauses. So every conditional sentence has if clause, right? So we put it here. It normally starts the sentence. And the second part of the sentence is a main clause. But what I want to tell you guys, sometimes these clauses can be put another way, right? So the sentence can be started with a main clause and otherwise. So again, don't get into the trap that if it is like the beginning of the sentence, this is the condition. No. So it can be otherwise. So be careful about that. Because in every clause, there is specific grammar, right? So which you have to follow. And if we talk about 0 conditional, we will be talking about general things, some facts that are usual or normal, right? So, and grammatically, we're going to construct 0 conditional using present tenses in the if clause and the same present tenses in the main clause, right, guys? So it can be present simple or present continuous or present perfect. For example, if I have a good mood, I meet my friends, right? So I always do it. Or if it rains, the road gets slippery, right? So the road gets slippery because it's a law of nature. That's right. Now let's come to the first conditional, which is like which has the top place for students' mistakes. Because first conditional is used when you're talking about future condition. And what you do is you say 2 times well. Like, if I will have time, I will call you. Or if I will have opportunity, I will step by. No, that's not right. What you need to do is to put present tenses again one more time in the if clause, like simple, continuous, or present perfect. Yes, you heard me right. And only in the main clause with a relief in your soul, you can say will, or you could use any other modal verb. Like, if I have time, I will do it. Or if I need to go somewhere, I will realize that, right? So only present tense in the if clause and will in the main clause. Okay, guys, we move on. The next type is the second type. I call it the imaginary type. So what do you imagine in your life? If you were a president of the United States, what would you do? So if you were, it's past tense. So you can use past simple here or past continuous. Okay, and in the main clause, you will put would or some other modal. Everything goes quite logically. If you compare with the first one, here present, here past, and will changes into would, right? So try to memorize your conditionals also this way, like a structure, yes? It will be easier for you to work with them. So what would you do if you where in the United States elections, right? Okay, good. We move on. The third type is the most difficult one, but actually I will try to explain it in the easiest way for you. So you can use the third type only when talking about something which had happened in the past. It was a real situation which you cannot change. You can only what? Comment about it, regret about it, or criticize, for example. And for that purpose, you need to use only past perfect tense or maybe past perfect continuous, right? And in the main clause, you have a formula, like a structure. You use would plus have and plus past participle, right? So the most difficult construction, which will be used in conditional sentences. So try to structure your information, okay, about conditionals. First, that there are 2 clauses. Second, that there are 4 types. And third, how tenses change. There's present, present, past, past perfect. So it like goes down, yeah. And present, will, would, and the most complicated would have done, right? So it will help you to structure the information and be more precise and correct when you're using your conditionals. Okay, so that's the formula, like what you need to have to bear in your mind, always with you. Now let's stick to some examples. Okay, so please have a look. We have 4 sentences here. I will read them out to you, and you will identify the type. So we'll start with the easiest tasks. So first one, provided that you increase the order, we will give you a discount. So first of all, pay attention that you have alternative to if, which is provided that, normally used in business. And you have present tense increase in the if clause and future in the main clause. So this is the first type of conditional sentence. You're talking about future, right? So also when you're learning the types, try to memorize one word which you associate with this type, or actually what is the function of this type. Okay, next. If I were the boss of this company, I would improve communications. This is what? Imaginary situation. So this is the second type of conditional, and the key word here is imaginary, but don't confuse it with imaginary what was before. Imaginary now or in future, right? That's the specifics of the second type. Here you have the past simple tense and in the main clause would, right? So it all matches to the pattern which we had done before. All right. Next is when economy stagnates, people lose their jobs. So also alternative to if is when. Then you have present simple and present simple. So both present tenses are normally used in 0 type of conditional. So this is 0 conditional about normal situation. So what is normal or usual, right? What usually happens when economy stagnates. Okay? And the fourth example, if they had warned us about price increase, we would have made a bigger order. So when you see the most complicated construction ever, like past perfect and then would plus have plus verb 3, it is really a sign that this is the third conditional and you're talking about past, because probably they had already increased prices and you did not make bigger order. So then you can only hypothesize on something in the past, yes, which you could have done before. Okay, guys, now I would like to give you a short piece of advice on how to practice each of these types of conditionals. So after you study the pattern, yeah, how to construct it, then you need to practice. So like making up more and more examples. Let's start with the 0 type. Think what is normal for you when you are tired or when you have a good mood or when you receive salary. And just say what you do. Yes, when I'm tired, I go to my friend, or I go to sauna, yeah, or I go to the club, yeah, whatever. And what you do when you receive a salary. When I get a salary, I have a party, or I buy a new dress or a new suit or anything. So just try to make associations with yourself and with the 0 type. Next, let's talk about future. Think, what will you do if you have plus 1 hour a day? So like 25 hours a day. And what will you do? So it's a real future condition for you. Okay, about second type, you can imagine, because it's very good to dream, yes, to have dreams. And you can dream. If you were, I don't know, in my shoes, what would you do? Or if you studied not in Yapi Corporate, what would you do? Or if you, I don't know, flew to the moon, what would you see there, right? So just imagine some highly unlikely situations, yes, and try to dream and practice the second conditional. And concerning the third conditional, think about some past situation which you personally regret and say, what would have happened if you had done something else, right? If you had made another choice. So what would have happened in this case? So that's how you should and how you can practice different types of conditionals. First of all, personalizing, so associating them with your life, with your habits, with norms for you, and with some past or future or current situations with you and in your life. Okay, so after these pieces of advice, let's stick to some practice. And I want you to open the brackets in the following exercise. So please have a look. Okay, guys, so the exercise is quite standard, but also it helps to improve your knowledge of conditional sentences and to remember the grammatical pattern, which is in each of the types. So I will help you, of course, and we start. If you don't like your job, look for another one, right? If you don't like a job, look for another one. Guys, let's try to think. What type of conditional sentence is this? Because you can see present simple in the if clause, but you see imperative mood, like do something, yeah, or look for another job in the main clause. It means that this is the first conditional, guys. So instead of future will, you can use imperative mood in your conditionals. Okay, second sentence. We were very late because of the traffic. We there sooner if we take the train. So think, what situation is here? It's a past situation because you already were late. So you have to use the third conditional here this way. We would have got, yeah, so this is the main clause, guys. We would have got there sooner if we had taken the train. Here, be very attentive because we started with the main clause, not with the if clause, right? And be careful with your grammar here. Okay, let's proceed. Third sentence. Thank you for your help. If you, me, I, the presentation. So again, the situation was in the past. You say, if you hadn't helped me, the negative of past perfect, hadn't helped me. So I wouldn't have prepared the presentation. I wouldn't have prepared the presentation. Okay, I wouldn't have prepared the presentation. Okay, the third type, because the situation was past. Okay, so number 4. The machine, what does it do? The machine stops automatically if something goes wrong. Yes, this is a manufacturing law, so it's norm for a manufacturing process. This is zero conditional here. Okay, let's move on. 5th, you were very rude to Alex. If I were you, I would apologize. So guys, if you want to give somebody a piece of advice, you can use the second conditional as well. So it's not only for imaginary situations. If I were you, I would do this, right? I would apologize. Okay, next one. We have a suggestion to make. How would you feel if we offered you the job of the assistant manager? Again, this is a second type of conditional. How would you feel if? Very often, this type is used for asking questions. Yeah, so what would you do if, or how would you feel if? All right, next sentence. I can't let you have time off. If I make an exception, everybody else will expect the same. So will expect. Yes, this is the first conditional. The boss talks about future consequences, so he or she uses the first conditional. Next sentence. I'm very busy, so please don't disturb me unless it is an emergency. Okay, pay attention to the word unless, guys. Unless is the same as if not. So after unless, you can't use the negative form of the verb. So you don't say unless it is not an emergency. You say unless it is an emergency. Okay, and the last sentence here, as long as we get the funding, we can go ahead with the project. This is the first type, talking about future condition. So that is why you open the brackets this way. Okay, so thank you for being attentive during our practice. Such gap fill exercise can help you to practice like the structure, yes, and grammar. And then only after doing lots of such exercises, you can go to the next stage, like be more free in your conversation and using different types of conditional sentences when you're talking, yes, to somebody, and be more relaxed, yes, when doing that. Only after you have a good drill and lots of sentences practiced. Okay, now we move on. And I offer you to switch on your imagination, and also it would be great if you wrote down your answers in the comments to our webinar. We would really appreciate that. And also it will be a good practice for you as well. So I have the beginning of some conditional sentence, and your task is to make up some ending. I will also be providing my answers so that you could check and could compare your answer with mine. Okay, I will be able to work something out, providing you give me some time, right? This is the first conditional, providing it's an alternative to if. Okay, if I'm not promoted this year, I will quit the company, right? So this will be the result of some future condition. Yes, I will quit. Okay, next, we could have finished on time if you hadn't been late. So this is the third condition, because somebody was late, yes, and they didn't finish on time. So we can say we could have finished if you had come. Okay, supposing they offered you the job, what would you do? I'm using here the second conditional because I'm talking about a purely imaginary situation. Next, if we accepted the takeover bid, if we accepted imaginary, we would lose our jobs, right? Again, it's imaginary because it did not happen. We just think what could be. All right, next one. I will help you today, providing you help me tomorrow, right? Okay, so if you help me tomorrow, or the same, providing I will help you today. Okay, next one. If I don't have enough time, so I will continue tomorrow, right? If I don't have, I will continue tomorrow. Next, if the matter hadn't been serious, he wouldn't have been so upset, for example. Yes, we talk about like yesterday's situation, for example, yeah, what had already happened. Okay, so I hope that you were also writing some answers, and I will see them after our webinar. So thank you for your active work. And the last task for today will be connected with the pictures that you can see on the board. So they're connected with such process as negotiation and presentation given. So try to imagine situation. You are at negotiations and make up 3 or maybe 4 sentences in different conditional types about the situation. Like, for example, if both of the sides agree, everybody is happy. Yeah, so I made example about negotiations, win-win solutions in 0 type. Yeah, so if we both agree, everything is okay. Good. The first one, if you give us a discount, we will take bigger order. Yeah, make bigger order. So during negotiations, very often you will use first type of conditional because you will give some condition, yes, and then you promise that some result, or that there will be some result or some outcome. Okay, again, the second one, okay, if you were less ambitious, we could have a common way, right? Or if yesterday interlocutor had been more careful, he wouldn't have told about their weak points, for example. Yeah, so you notice that he did that, and you say if he had been more careful, he wouldn't have told about this. Okay, and the other situation is about presentations. Like, for example, when I speak publicly, I feel nervous, right? It's a 0 type. Or when I give a talk, I will, I don't know, I will blink my eye, so to give some mark, right? It's a first conditional. Or if I were you, I would prepare carefully for your presentation, right? I give you some piece of advice. And the third one, okay, if the speaker had been more precise, we would have understood the information better, right? So you're talking about past presentation, which had already happened, and you're talking about its result. Okay, guys, so I hope that my explanation today has helped you to structure the material concerning types of different conditionals, concerning clauses of conditionals, concerning the grammar structure which you need to use, and also that you would follow some advice how to practice your conditionals and become fluent in English. So thank you for staying with us. Subscribe to Yappy Corporate channel and see you soon.